by focusing on assumption-based questions, because together the assumption-based questions make up over 70% of all critical reasoning questions. Okay. So we're talking about our strategy for the 4 assumption-based questions, right? Those are assumption, strengthen, weaken, and flaw questions. And our basic method for all these questions is to find the assumption and use it to predict the answer. All right, that's what's really important here. You're going to find the assumption and use the assumption to predict the answer, and that is our strategy, and it is very important. So why is it important to do this? Because on in these questions, it's best to go to the answer choices with an idea of what the right answer is going to be. It's not so good to just read the problem and go straight to the answer choices. So it's not what we're going to do. We're not going to go to the answer choices until we've predicted what we're looking for. Okay, so this is very different from everything else we've done. We didn't do this in reading comp. We didn't do this in sentence correction. In reading comp and sentence correction, we use the answer choices. Here we are not going to the answer choices until we know what we're looking for. So how are we going to find the assumption, right? Assumption is kind of this mysterious thing, and I've been using it, and no one really knows what I'm talking about yet. So we're going to use the conclusion and evidence to find the assumption. Okay? And we're going to talk about finding the conclusion and evidence in a moment. And the assumption is what must be true in order for the conclusion to logically follow from the evidence. If you were to negate this assumption, the argument could no longer hold. Right? So we'll make this clear in a moment. Just hang with me. So the first thing we always do is identify the conclusion. That is always the first thing, and it's the most important thing to do first. So we always start by finding the conclusion. And how might you know what the conclusion is? What do you guys think? What's a way that I might know which part of the argument is the conclusion? Trigger words, exactly. Trigger words are keywords, exactly. What kind of trigger words or keywords would let me know that it was the argument's conclusion? What kind of keywords would let me know it was the conclusion? Exactly, exactly. Great. Words like in conclusion. You will really see it on the GMAT. It's not too cheesy. In conclusion. Therefore. What else? Fabulous thus. The fabulous so. Right, these are all conclusion keywords. What's another way we might know what is the conclusion on the GMAT? What do you guys think? Yes. Yes, thank you, Carson. The conclusion is often going to be, right, we can find it based on its location. It's often the last or first sentence. Not definitely always, but it's usually going to be the last or the first sentence. What's another way I might identify what in the argument is the conclusion? I, of course, in my mind, have 2 more ways. But you guys have no way of knowing what I'm thinking in my mind. Well, there's tone. We have keywords, location, and tone. Right? Anything more opinionated is the conclusion. What do I mean by more opinionated? Anything more opinionated? I mean stuff like obviously, right? If I saw the word obviously at the beginning of a sentence, I would know it was the conclusion. Obviously, or this is foolish, right? I've seen that on the GMAT question. This is foolish, right? That is a definite indication that it's the conclusion because the tone is more opinionated. And the last way we can identify the conclusion on the GMAT is knowing that on the GMAT, conclusions are frequently plans or predictions. Okay, this looks different from real life. In real life, we don't necessarily think about all plans or predictions being conclusions. So on the GMAT, plans and predictions are conclusions. We're going to practice finding conclusion and some strength and weaken assumption or flaw questions. So I'm going back. I'm going back to number 4. First one we ever looked at, number 4. All right, so we knew it was a strength and weaken assumption or flaw question because we already looked at it. So now let's read it and let's find the conclusion. So a study made by a psychologist shows that spending too much time in front of a computer causes insomnia. 2 groups of adults took part in the study. During the study, the first group spent 3 hours or less a day working on a computer. The second group spent 6 hours or more. A greater proportion of the second group had trouble falling asleep during the period of study than members from the first group. So, take a second and chat me what you think the conclusion is. So one person's response just started to go a little too far away. One person's response was, the more time you spend on the PC, it is more likely that you'll have insomnia. But we just have to be very careful, even when we're paraphrasing, right? Paraphrasing means that we're rewriting the sentence in our own words. Even when we're paraphrasing, we still want to make sure that we're not going too far away from exactly what's written. So I just want to make that clear. So it says spending too much time in front of the computer causes insomnia. It'd be wrong for me to paraphrase the conclusion by saying the more time you spend on the PC, the more likely it is that you have insomnia, right? Because that's a linear relationship, and this might be like a plateau or kind of relationship. Okay, so we're not answering the question yet. We just wanted to find the conclusion, and that was right. We're going to keep going. We're going to find the conclusion somewhere else. Look at number 6. I want you guys to look at number 6 and chat me what the conclusion. Higher incomes do not necessarily result in connection with the party. Great. And that was pretty straightforward. We're going to do some